delicate ginger skin can only handle that. Oh yes, okay. It just doesn't.
Oh, I know, but you know.
All right, everyone here for one versus many? Can everyone hear me? See me from here? We'll take a step back. We're on camera too, just to be aware. We're going to try to demonstrate stuff in front of me and up this direction. Do a quick introduction. Hi, I'm Bhakdar. I've been fighting since about 2001. Since 2003 or so. And I love teaching any sort of tactics.
I'm Bighead. I've been fighting since about 2003, and I like fighting on the ditch. So one versus many is a situation that comes up relatively frequently.
My name is Diego. I've been fighting since 92, and yeah, I really enjoy it. I mean, one on many is always traditionally when I used to go to the SKBC, one of my favorite classes. I enjoy the challenge. Yeah, I can't promise you everybody everything, but
let's go ahead. We got a fairly small class, so can we keep going around the table? Introduce your name, want to think about where you're from and how long you've been playing.
I'm Bighead. I'm with the West March, and I've been playing for like a year, but mostly belt.
I'm Vulcan out of the Iron Mountains, and I've been playing since 2012. I'm Thomas. I've been playing since like 2005. I fought in Texas and
I'm Major. I'm out of Northern Lights in Seattle, and I've been playing for I think 3 years now. Loki, I've been playing since 2002. I play out of Blackfoot, mostly Amgard, but I also don't think
I'm Starling. I'm mostly play Belgrade for the Rockford, Illinois, but I am hilarious at
Sweet, thank you. That gives kind of a heads up where we're coming from. Let me invite us to build on that. You all chose to come to a one versus many class. Take a few breaths to yourself. Think short and sweet. How can I capture a statement about what I most want to learn about one versus many? Can you describe a particular challenge or particular aspect of one versus many? If I walked away with this golden nugget of knowledge or how to apply it today, what's that thing you most want to learn? Can you tell it to us short and sweet, and we can try to cater and customize to that? We'll start with whoever is first inspired and ready to share it.
Yeah, what I want to do is I want to get people blocked up, right, enough to where I can make it more efficient for me to try to take apart people, right? You're fighting 1, 2, 3, 4 people at a time. I want to be able to prevent as much movement on their side, so I want to be able to rotate around them to get them to block themselves up, so I can get engaged there.
Okay, entangling opponents
That's
to
right.
make your fight easier.
Yes.
It's totally important thing we're going. What else?
Either safer shots to win the pick game or a faster, riskier shot to kill someone and then you're
Okay, specific shot selection that's safe enough to use when I'm outnumbered though. Like, what down to the detail of what I'm throwing and why. Fantastic.
I'm not really raising my hand because I'm still thinking, but it's quite similar of what are safe shots you can throw, how do you move so that you can make sure that you're in a position where you can fight the smallest number of opponents possible so that you can safely throw without getting yourself killed. You know, where do you move, things along those lines.
Great, so I even love how your language is framing. You've got to move first to get to more likely safety. Then you can start breaking down those details of what's safer to throw once you've created that opening, once you've created that context. Fantastic.
But also how to move to create the context.
Exactly, that's already pointing to the sequence of events. If I just line up equidistant from 2 or 3 people and think, what's a safe shot? Good luck with that equation. That's a losing equation. Anyone else want to build on a particular they want to do?
I just want to occupy them, keep them busy.
Occupy
Whatever, situation. I'm in here for people and
How to survive?
yeah.
Okay. And in some way, I think I appreciate the humility of that statement, and that I just want to do something relevant, right? And honestly, as we learn one versus many, we're acknowledging that odds are stacked against you, whether you're a first year through a 20+ year vet or a warlord. This is a game of creating microcosms where you can improve how effective you are, even if you're still 80-90% plus likely to die. And that's okay. It's really hard to measure success in that because you'll still not live through the fight often. That's okay. Did I do a relevant constructive thing? Did I show I could live longer, move better, get some picks on plant holders before I went down? That's still all constructive. Anything else anyone wants to build into this?
I'm just rehabbing off of a leg break from last year, so all my games have been changed to figure out what my new footwork is.
Okay, so yeah, you've been adapting to time and injury and recovery, and still doing the best we can in a highly motivated encounter. Sweet.
Also there's like more kind of like positioning and like how to get into the position and where the position is for the fighter.
Great. How to get to an advantageous position when we're outnumbered, and that is the core piece of it. So I love you guys are already thinking right now where you want to go. That's excellent.
I'm going to look at Jedi.
Go to someone else's class. This does often not look graceful. However, some of these key themes I've heard you guys highlighting, the movement to positioning and entangling my opponents while I have maximum freedom, that doesn't always have to look cool, but making your outnumbering 2 or 3 or more against you look foolish while you look graceful, that can be a classic fight. That is what we want to get to. So let me start with a little bit of defining foundational terms. And we might come back to that foundations class on occasion. Let's all use the same language. Let's all know what we mean when we say certain things. First I'm going to do objectives and some of that definitions. So my objective hope of this class is demonstrate the awareness, like field awareness, myself in relation to everyone else on the battlefield. Guard, how do I hold my gear? Movement, moving with your context with your opponents. Strategy, sphere of attack, and timing of strikes to leverage advantage in fights where you are outnumbered. This is going to apply most in melee range weapons and most tangibly demonstrated in a 1 versus 2 or 3 or more situation. But a lot of this stuff can actually be extrapolated into a 2v5, 5 versus 15. Okay? Once you get the microcosm and we can demo it together, you can scale that up as you go. Let me pause there. Any terms I just used or overview where we're trying to get to that I've used language with that doesn't make sense? Any questions? Beautiful. So if I say sphere of attack, can I have a close up? You're welcome to grab a stick. Anyone who, yeah, you got a stick if you might be a demo buddy with. If I say sphere of attack, and then demo buddies, let's try to be on this diagonal with that camera facing us, so you'll have back a little bit to part of audience. There, yes, there. That's good. So when I say sphere of attack, anyone from our class here, what's sphere of attack?
Your danger zone. What you can hit.
What you can hit, like I can't hit Diego right now. Am I in Diego's sphere of attack? Are they in mine? I'm going to adjust this a little bit. If we're talking range control, we're in visual engaging distance. We can see each other, we can look like we're going to fight each other. We're not within touching more than each other's swords. I would say as soon as we can start to access wrist and forearms, this is what I'd call maximum range. Max of, we can actually hit each other. I would think of sphere attack as slightly different. When I say sphere of attack, I mean what you can access of a target area in one full committed body punch. So I do have sphere of attack on Diego. One lunge can still strike Diego. Is it smart to lead with that, especially if it's actually versus Diego and 2 or 3 of his pals here? Probably not. But that, besides the point, sphere of attack is big because, let's say, Opie is joining Diego and I'm 1 versus the 2 and they have a pull. The sphere of attack dynamic has changed considerably, right? Am I in Opie's sphere of attack? Easily. In fact, I'm within Opie's maximum range statically. Without moving my legs, I could die here. This is an awful engagement setup. Granted, I was demoing single person. So on a ditch, though, I'd better start thinking about how this is going to break down, at least by the time I get here. Opie, am I still in Opie sphere of attack? Opie take a lunge step. Let's see Opie take one committed lunge. Okay, no.
Still with a back foot.
And that's but this is highly relevant, right? So I need to be thinking about what and why I'm going to do as I'm in the visual engaging, visual assessing range, not by the time I get to that edge of sphere of attack. This is because if they're thinking about it, I'm probably dead in their mindset before I even get a better at whacking. Does everyone follow that? Okay, so when I say sphere of attack, that's within one full committed body motion. That's including a large lunge or step. Any questions, concerns on that? Am I okay using that terminology? You know, okay. So yeah, max range, I would call static, right? We're at max range. One committed full motion, or you can reach or lunge without even moving a speed when you kill each other. That's maximum range, but the sphere of attack thing, you gotta be assessing earlier. So in one versus many, you're always at that disadvantage, having to execute superior skills, whether movement, block strike, positioning, why am I timing what I'm doing in a particular way, and superior strategy, right? It's got to be, I've got the techniques in my body, and I've got the mentality of my strategy, and I'm thinking about it before I get to that engaging range where they might kill me within a second's notice. Does that make sense? A lot of this game we're about to discuss, it's a mentality of approach, less than a particular, I can execute this stab, execute this specific technique or whatnot once we get there, okay? So it's applying maximum damage or potential damage, outmaneuvering to that position. It's largely a positioning, maneuvering kind of approach. Okay, our approach is defined by context, right? So let me break this down and try to solicit some feedback from y'all. When does this stuff happen? When does the outnumbered one versus many dynamic occur? What kind of settings in a regular park environment?
Yeah, battle game, something where you're going to have team tournaments. Yeah.
Okay, we've got team tournament context, maybe on the most competitive, specific. We've got ditching or battle games, as it's a big melee, there's going to be a lot of people. And then even within those contexts, you can go one versus many, right? At the end of it, a ditch digresses. Now it's one versus three,
The end of
4,
the
5
engagement,
people.
right? It's kind of like the end of the engagement, right?
Often it's when we've gotten scrappy. Right? Like there might be some injuries. That might be, thankfully, the person with the pole versus 3 single sorters. So let's hope, right?
The dream scenario, a flanking situation.
A flanking situation.
You've drawn out 3 defenders on the right side.
Great example, right? It doesn't have to be at the end of the field. That's often when it comes down to the wire. I'm the last person on the tourney field, but now I'm a 1 versus 2. How do I win? Super relevant. It's up here, not just better technique. And yeah, it's a microcosm on the edge of that ditch line. It's, this flank veered off, and now 2 become 5. It became, I have to finish this 1 versus 2 or 3.
It could also be starting 5 versus 5, and now it's 4 versus 1, and you're the last person on that side, but you've got teammates that may be able to come and help at some point or another, and you may just need to hold ground for 30 seconds or so before the fight shifts again.
Yes. So I just want to acknowledge this whole miniature dialogue, none of this exists in a vacuum. If you have backup, use it, right? I don't have to fight this 1v3 at the end of that flank if I have buddies to pull them to. So, depending on context, shift the strategy, and we'll integrate how that goes as we go. I would also acknowledge this is kind of a cultural bit of when I first started cross gaming in Amtgard. No matter how strong whomever is that I'm fighting, there's variations, but a lot of people say in a ditch line, coming from Belagarth, this floored me, right? That, hey, let's see who's better here. While 3 more people are fighting my buddy Bighead over there. Like, yeah, let's do a 2v4. We can feel pretty confident, but we're just gonna stare straight at you to do it. I mean, we might fight a little 45 degrees right there, but why don't y'all stare at Bighead? And then if I can kill you, then now I gotta kill the rest of you. Okay, like, so flanking, outmaneuvering, getting a side cut, getting a back. I view it as a strategy and a competitive edge about the mentality of approach to fight to create the easy kill dynamic. To me, that does involve skill. Running down the backs, and slapping butts and not dying. It's slightly progressively less skill if they're totally unaware of you, but it took a lot of skill and mentality to get there. You still have to stay alive when someone can be like, oh, and simul you for doing just the backstabbing thing. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I'm going to suggest that's different culture to some people. Some people are like, let's go have the best single square off here, and if I win it, now I'm going to have the best single square off here, right? If it truly comes down to you versus 1 versus 2 or more, throw that in the trash. It is my professional advice. So it's like flank, backstab, manipulate. You need every advantage you can muster to actually win that scenario. Tournaments. No, unless they want to honor duel me 1 by 1, and I still have my full swordboard kit. I was like, yes, would you like to duel me? And then you, sir, and then you, sir. And if they want to play that game, now we're using honor to outmaneuver the mentality of our opponents.
Big charisma check.
Yeah, big charisma check for sure. Have you guys seen that at the end of a ditch? There's a warlord for 6 people. The warlord's like, honor duel?
Yeah.
And then they streak a line of 6 and they win the ditch.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
I've done it.
Great. I salute you. You're already using good strategy.
Amgard's terrible about
but use every gain you have is my suggestion in this encounter. It's just a realistic way to victory. Okay. As soon as let me pause. I can easily fill verbal space, and I want to check myself. Anything you got? Anyone else wants to pitch in on content I've already started putting out loud?
I think we're going over foundation content and stuff like that.
Did we move it up to here?
I think it'll get like the nitty-gritty on a lot more.
Because we'll platter and it's harder to tell when it's done.
And then any questions or comments to build on from what we've said so far? Okay. So I'd say awareness is step 1. Right? If I am alone on the field, as soon as I have a hunch, I'm alone. Whether it's on that far flank end of a ditch or end of tourney, now it's 1 versus 3 to finish the battle, whatnot. It's advisable. Let's say I was sparring on the end of this pitch line. Yay, I got the kill. But you guys who were just fighting my buddy, well, my buddy just died, and now it's you 3 versus me. I mean, now I want to be aware, ideally, when you guys are still killing my buddy. Right? So, right? Ideally, yeah, maybe I'm trying to out-single square off here, and I'm hoping the attention was still applied there. I can't dictate that, but I can use that awareness to my advantage. So, step 1 of approach mentality is, and this is just team melee in general, I can be aware of this person, I can be intent on beating this person. The more your awareness is on what the next 2 or 3 people, especially like on a general ditch line, are doing to either 45-degree window of you, to this span in front of you, the more you're already pre-gaming a potential advantage for the next sequence of seconds. Does that make sense? So ideally, even if my heroic friends who were my ditch line teammates on this end go down, say, oh, okay, I got to finish this. Great, oh, you're dying. And now what do I want to do? Okay, if you still have
I would dive. There's a polearm behind a line of people. I don't want to fight the polearm and a line of people. I will go, you got a ninja line, go through the ninja line is what I would do here.
Okay, so,
general closing of
pretending this is
trying to tie up. Hey, because like in this situation, we're really like
let's take 3 steps back.
stooges in the line, right?
Yeah.
So and I'm way too close to this guy for him to rotate out quickly.
Well, so and if you see the polearm start to come around this way, you can rotate that way on the person in front of you, maybe get a kill there, and now you're 2-on-1 instead of 3-on-1, right? And if you can continue that advance, the polearm continues to have to rotate. Maybe you get a good, rotating shot on the person in front of you. Now you're 1-on-1 with a polearm, which is not necessarily the ideal, especially since I do a lot of single sword fighting. But I way rather fight a polearm 1-on-1 than two borders and a polearm 3-on-1.
So, I have 2 primary options, right? If this is a microcosm where I have no help, I'm going to follow the suggested piece of, yeah, hopefully your killing stroke on my buddy is my opening to come over here before you're aware, right? Hardly give that pole a chance to ever square up and have advantage on, what was that thing we called earlier? anytime I'm approaching, even from here, if I have awareness of them,
Yes.
I have sphere of attack on Opie once I can get past about person 1, right? Opie has sphere of attack of me here, but only if Opie's aware of me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that is supreme. If I can catch that unawares, then this 4 seconds is vital and gives me victory because their attention was still there. If it's not, what do you think might be? If I just finished this flank edge and you guys have been dead for 2 seconds and they're looking for their next target, what's likely starting to happen? Right. So, and now if their awareness is with me, what do I need to do differently?
Rotate away from the pole.
Rotate either away out of my sphere.
Yeah, great distance to
So I want to pause real quick. Just the four of you are the only people who are alive. You guys are already hosts. The reason why I say that is just the way you're standing up close. You guys are all lined up in basically the sphere of attack for all of y'all is going to be basically pretty tight. Whereas if you take a step there, take a step here, just come out here. Yeah. Now where's his sphere of attack? Fucking giant size. So he's now has to worry about all of this as opposed to do that.
So then as us who has to be the one trying to take them apart, if we want to keep them more in the center than on the right and the left, right? So
Yeah,
we're going to try and move with them as participants and getting center.
Bhakdar starts going right, you come there, yes, something like that.
So we really want to, you want to really watch for when they're lining up. You can kind of force that through your own. Well, let's try to press on the line.
So when you guys are lined up like that, if Bighead's a distraction, Bhakdar comes through and slays all y'all from the side, you know, that doesn't really serve anything. But, you know, you gotta...
But that's kind of like the ideal scenario for Bhakdar, right?
Yeah. That's his bread and butter.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Diego's on the spots because Diego is probably the absolute best person at getting behind the line and then sprinting down the line, killing everybody. The dude throws 4,000 shots for every 3 most people do, and does cardio for days.
So there's the awareness factor and then how you manipulate it. And inevitably, as it comes up, well, we're trying to teach the 1 versus many perspective. How do I get better at disadvantage? Like, counter that is the many versus 1, right?
Yeah, right.
But it's inherently going to come up, how can you maximize either end of that spectrum?
Yeah, right.
Whether you're on big league team with more resources or totally the one likely getting shafted. So, totally apt comment about distance. I would say, we started this as what looked pretty similar to that big ditch of single sword, right? In your range, I would say, granted, I'm a tall dude with a big sphere of attack. I don't like to fight that close, but ditch lines get this close, yeah? Now, if you guys actually lined up in OP, you do have a great weapon somehow intermingled with the singles.
Yeah.
Now, casually adjust to where and how you might go. So, I'm starting to approve more of this. What do you guys, and why is that adjustment?
I've got it. I can keep distracted, right? Enough.
Everybody's in your sphere of attack.
Can you grab the single sword right now? Let's
sure.
Let's everybody get a single sword, so we can just teach the concept of placement and where to do stuff like that, and then we can come back to adding on top of those concepts with things like whole.
So, we were talking the approach of how to determine that next best once I realized that I'm the outcome. Okay, so whether that has a big difference in our sphere of attack, which it will, pull versus single, or not, where I was meaning to go, like when you kill the end of something, you can take at least a visual momentary assessment of the rest of the enemy's awareness and density of positioning. Awareness and density of positioning are 2 really important things to be assessing now. The denser you are, what do I have as an advantage?
It's quicker to get those kills.
Right. That's the maximum thing I want to occur as long as the lack of awareness is existing.
You gotta kind of think about this as like, when people say combat computer and something like that, like essentially computers work as processing. You want to process as much information. So with Bhakdar standing here, he sees all of you. Now Bhakdar doesn't really pay a whole bunch of attention to what's going on here. Bhakdar's getting all the information on the fight that's going on here. Whereas if you guys were spread out, now Bhakdar's got to process things on peripherals, and it's much harder to process. So he's at the advantage in the fact that you guys are all lined up. And it's another thing that advantage with that he's got less of a process, and he's got more information. And it ties to he does have a advantage.
I mean, I know this environment actually comes up is at the end right now. Typically, when we run where the best place we did was what we did. That's his best shot of being able to do whatever else he's going to do. If he's standing right here in the middle, he's in a place where he's just like stupidly coming to the middle, he has the absolute worst of luck. So this is always going to be a balancing act. Like you guys being able to face somebody directly on the triangle, going on a long triangle, and me trying to get a straight line. That's basically the best way of thinking about it.
So yeah, let me build on that. Yes, and in context, let's say 4 sturdy fighters versus 6 sturdy fighters, and this is our ditchish looking line. But right, and even when I'm engaging the sphere of attack, when our team is, I could commit here, but if so, it better be a pull away of awareness, right? Maybe I meet, and oh, you got tempted to flank me, so meet lateral side cut, meet fade disengaged. I'm pulling you off. I'm letting a 2-on-1 of attention be at my next buddy down. I don't want to strand them, whomever they are, no matter how skilled. But my plan is, kick them engaged, Diego. I throw slop here, I come to finish the fight here, and then I work with the density that my teammate allowed me. And now if we're still alive, even if they took an arm, now we can do a lot more if they're dense and unaware.
Yeah,
Does that follow?
It's a really great like line fighting concept. It's applicable for everything. If it's we're just not going to have that opportunity here. If it's kind of one person versus many, that's still something you want to do. Even though now he's going to be fight too. But if I can keep rotating like this, I'm going to keep Opie out of the fight. And if you guys do what a lot of people typically do, which is kind of turn your hips while somebody's doing something instead of moving your feet, now it's going to be slower for you to do anything.
Did everyone catch that? That's a micro nuance to that body mechanics stuff, right? But if I'm using lateral lunge steps, galloping here, and you guys are using short steps that are locked in, swinging through each other's range of attack at a single opponent, this is the microcosm I want to create, no matter what, as long as I'm trying to play uphill from that outnumbered game, right? And this is that entangling concept in action. That my opponents need to swing around and through each other, while I have free reign to do setup, bait, lunge, whatever, from a free flow engage and disengage range. Does that make sense?
So for me, if I'm fighting three of you, I'm in the center here. It's easy for me to get ball. Whereas again, if you go that way. Now, if I swing here, you guys are wide open.
So avoid being enveloped, or avoid letting that sphere become a U-shape around you.
Yeah, because if we're like this, I can throw here and here, but if Opie decides to throw at me, where's Opie? Opie's now open play. Like if you're sitting there and you do that, and this is what Bhakdar's talking about, entangling your opponents and stuff like that. Now, I'm at an advantage because it's inconvenient for them to try to do anything because they're in each other's way.
Okay, so let's come back to that moment of time I realized I'm alone. Please, come 2 versus 1, Bighead, and unfortunately Bighead is dying. I was able to do this flank and pause. Bighead died. Okay, we had if you guys are still dense, I'm kind of hyper pressured to maximize my burst of energy when you're dense. right? We've just acknowledged that. Now, if this got a lot more spread out, the three of you veered off to take the two up there. Diego and you were kind of more single. I was the flanker. You guys trade out. Okay, and pause. The more fragmented we are, we're on a microcosm of demonstration. But if my team just died, and let's say you guys were 3 steps further towards Bighead, right? This kind of breakdown and pause. Freeze frame. Everyone still see me, hear me? The further spread we are now I have an encounter in front of me. I have one potential cluster of density. If I can get through this, and I've got some of that disadvantage, or that advantage of their two deadly cluster, it's harder for me them to swing back as it is for me to finish this. But I'm going to attract attention of a 3-on-1 any second now. Is that okay? Now this micro moment in time, I need to think about that that visual assess. So I might need to. Is it time to disengage? Is it safest to keep my burst going, or is it safest to visually disengage and assess? Does that make sense? And now from here I might need to pick a side. If I can get through this, do I want to keep circling to the right and why? Or do I want to totally disengage? If I'm thinking it's down to that last pocket, it's like there's 2 or 3 microcosms of this on a 60 versus 60 big event ditch line. Say, finish what you're doing immediately within sphere of attack, and then start doing some of this. Like backpedal, laterally out, and looking around the whole field. So I don't just look at like, okay, I guess I gotta fight this microcosm. I'm gonna take a disengaged step, check. Okay, safe to assess how I actually try to conquer that. Does that make sense? So get awareness before awareness information assessment, like Sponge is saying. If I'm not doing that, then I'm gonna be like, well, actually, I still got my board. I'm confident for some sync. That single, who is 12 feet over there, killed him. Does that make sense? So your thunder is gonna get stolen on accident if you're not taking that step. I know that's really hard to like, but that's the technique. It's the technique of it's gonna be hard to finish this. How do I take a moment to pause and think about it?
No, line up with them.
With them. Okay.
So one thing is like talking about this information. Okay, if I'm fighting here, and the 3 of us are fighting, the sub and y'all. All right. Now the information I want to process is Vulcan's in front of me, so he's the biggest thing. You're the second biggest thing. But I also see Carlos here, so if Carlos swings at Bhakdar and overextends, I can go here. So it's the process of information that I want to be aware of. And I want to pay special attention if Carlos is tunnel visioning on Bhakdar, and Bhakdar gets him to do something. I'm like, got him, like, especially if you're being very passive. I know there's not a lot of threat to, if I can hear, now you're going to respond, but you're going to be waiting for me to do something, so you're probably going to respond slow.
And so a great example, this is a bit, thanks, actually keep that for a moment. Team tactics stuff, but this is relevant, right? Like, let's say I was a boarder and I have lost my short arm and there was never a safe chance to switch. That does not mean I need to be a chump to this encounter. This means I need to open options for Sponge, at least for moments until I can pick my sword back up.
Yeah, so let's
right?
switch with this.
So hang tight. So like, exactly in what was happening, I can still be relevant. Please, let me throw some baits to get you throwing it. Nothing but a shield. So please, Sponge, be in range to snap that arm or stab that body, right? I can still create this. I can still be effective. And again, I'm outnumbered, and this is still how am I maximizing what I can relevantly do, even if it may not be killing.
Yeah, so Bhakdar's mentality is shifting from like, okay, well, what can I do to be aggressive? How can I pick up? How can I pick up wins? And when I say wins, I mean like, if I hit Vulcan in the arm, that's a win for me. If I hit Vulcan in the arm and I survive, that's a fucking win. Okay, so Bhakdar's at the point where, okay, well, I'm down in arm, but how can I create wins? Anyways, so if Bhakdar can entice him to come in, and then I pick him up, that's a fucking win. We just accomplished wins. It's like a ditch or a line fight or whatever, it's just a series of wins. You want to culminate with the greatest amount of wins at the end.
I do want to build on that for a little bit. Pay attention when people are hyper-focusing on things applies to both team fighting and also one versus many. I may be jumping in on this a little bit, going into a little bit of like specific shots. But if I'm fighting these 2 opponents here, right, I can do a series of things involving distance control and playing with the sphere of attack, where if I start to threaten this opponent, right, if you're one on many, typically speaking, both opponents subconsciously or consciously are going, I don't think I'm the one who's going to get hit. Or if I get hit, my opponent or my teammate is going to kill my opponent. So a lot of times people's defense is a little bit worse. They can be a little more aggressive or a little more passive, or it depends on who they are. But if I go up and I threaten this person and then start to shift into attack on this person's going to step in, right? So if I threaten this person, fake an attack here and take a step back, if this person's committing to an attack, I should be able to outrange and get that shot, and then now I'm 2-on-1 with an armed opponent instead of 2-on-1 with 2 fully healthy opponents, right? So figuring out how you can get opponents to react to relatively specific things because they're hyper focusing. If I start attacking this person's throwing, usually it's going to be a wrap shot over in this region, right? And if I can choreograph that, that's going to be a really, really important way, especially, we're talking about like safe shots, safe angles and stuff like that. If I've got a pack of people, 8 people back over here, but there's 2 people in front, and I can boom, 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 and then start a fight here where Diego's pressing in on me. Now I've got a wounded opponent who's switching, someone who's pressing in on me because I just threw a shot, and then 6 people behind them. So I've created an advantage, and I've still got the rest of the fight, but like it's all about creating a series of advantages in a disadvantageous situation. So could have been jumping the gun on that one a little bit, but thought that was the moment for it.
Yeah, we're getting into this microcosm breakdown of these positions. Let me offer, okay, we're gonna reset a little bit. Can everyone take the gear that you brought? Thank you for bringing it. Push it 15 feet back in the shade. Instructors come back over here. Students line up back over there. Warming up, and it's not 20-mile-an-hour winds.
Are we going to be actually doing some fighting?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
then I'll take my glasses off.
Yeah, just consolidating gear by the trees, so we're gonna have a lot of field openings.
I'm not sure whose green that is.
Let's take 2 steps slightly back diagonal, so we're doing this framing thing, and then come on back over, maybe with just the sword. This is going to be a detail awareness exercise I'm going to do as just for a moment. Go ahead and drop your sword. Everyone take your fingertips out in front of you so that you have room to stretch outward either side of you without bumping your buddy. Take your fingertips, look at them straight over the tops with your gaze, and start tracking as though if your fingertips are going to a 180-degree line on the peripheral of your vision. How long can you track seeing those fingertips? Okay. And now let your eyes go lazy gaze, 30 degrees down. I was actually looking at your line like I'm going to fight you. Instead of looking directly at, let's say, your shoulders, face zone, I'm letting my eyes lazily gaze down more to waist to feet, while still keeping awareness of what's up top. And take your fingers out. There's somewhat of a physiological difference you can notice. Anyone notice you can get to a wider spread at that slightly lower gaze? People feel that?
Yeah.
Great. If you notice that, fantastic. There's a physiology of difference, and that you can track more with that lazy lower gaze.
All these years I thought I was just being stupid and looking at the ground.
No, great. You may have been intuitively doing something very constructive, in my opinion. So if I'm starting to be in a place where I need to fight 2 or 3 or more people, what guard might you use? Let's say we're back to the single sword dish. Foundations class. I'm likely alone in 1 versus 3 enemies' attention.
Denial guard.
Denial guard, why?
Safeguard.
If I'm denying my inside, let's say, I'm inviting 3 more swords to come to a predictable, narrow part of my body. There may be advantage in that. It's somewhere between denial and then what was the other guard that we needed to keep space from people so they don't kill us? Ranging guard. Something between ranging guard and denial guard is what I'm going to encourage is likely going to happen. Because I either need you to be afraid of my sword tip poking you in the chest as you advance, or snapping your arm or such, or clearly dictating, I would love for 3 swords to fight one half by 1 sword until I can do something to fully commit and still have 1 sword defending some stuff. Did people follow that conceptually?
Yeah.
Does it make sense? Yeah. So creating this, I want the entirety of a multiple opponent, multiple striking surface army against 1 point of blocking contact. That's great setup. Okay? And this visual thing we just did is good setup for reading how and why I might be able to create that. So let's put that together. Let's say in this situation, I'm gonna start drifting to Vulcan, even though I know it's pulling what you guys' attention and bodies. Slow roll with me a bit. So I might actually have taken a step to what looks like a pretty unadvantageous. If I have a single fight here and my inside is open to multiple attackers, that's bad, right? We can all agree?
Oh yeah.
But if I did it intentionally to actually just, please fight me, and have him lunge where? In front of his buddies. Oh, let's have a bunch of single fight. Okay, does that make sense? A few steps and some awareness about why I'm taking them in that order change the fight dynamic. Does that make sense? That's the kind of stuff I want you thinking about in this 1 versus many situation. It's before we get to, oh crap, I'm gonna have more swords against me in a micro moment. Visually assessing that low gaze, you can see generally what their feet are doing and what their shoulder line is doing. And then you can, this is a lot of processing, but it's the relevant stuff. Do I have a more passive person on one end or the other? Like they want to just stand in good guard and wait and kind of block strike? Or do we have someone who loves to gun and rush, close the range and F you up whether I'm going to live or die or not? Who should I go after first in full committed motion?
You're going to want to go after the person who's just kind of defending on their own, right? You want to go after them to throw the shot, then go for the gun.
I like it. I might feint the attention of the static person, so why don't you bring your static to fumble and tangle your opponent while I go after the person who's more likely to bum rush and kill me, and then even if I'm down a bit, I have a fairer or a better odds fight to finish. Does anyone follow? Anyone want to build on ideas about that idea?
Yeah, typically, I mean, if you're on a pitch field, you don't know everybody. You can't, process some of those things. You don't know who the fast guy is, slow guy is. But if you do know who the fast guy is, you're typically, if you're trying to line up your one-on-ones, you're going to want to go towards the most mobile person, and you're going to want to strand the least mobile. You're going to have the least amount of ability to catch up to your opposing threat. So, yeah, that's who I would go first. If I know that you're the most mobile and you're the most aggressive, you're the one I want first. Okay, as an example, Vulcan's fighting he's fighting with 3 of us. He starts going towards me. I'm probably the least mobile, although especially since my ankle's fucked up. I'm definitely the least mobile person. He's making the stage, and he's leaving the fastest, most mobile person here, able to go get him. Whereas if he attacks Carlos, instead of me, go towards Carlos, he's tracking right. Now I'm getting abandoned because I'm less mobile, and suddenly he's turned this into a 3 versus 1 fight, and 3 versus 1 fight. Bhakdar's there, and I'm not here, and I have absolutely nothing to do with this fight right now. So, this is kind of a reinforcement, an example of what Carlos is saying about attacking the person who's going to be the most.
In my experience, you can draw out the most aggressive person by threatening less mobile people, so long as you stay more mobile than the least mobile person. So like, let's say that you haven't been moving a lot in this pitch, that's fine. You've been rushing people, that sort of thing. So the same thing I was talking about before, if I go to threaten this person, I know this person's going to jump out, but I know if I take a step away, you're not going to follow me as quickly. So now I'm in a one-on-one. And there. So I don't necessarily have to edge away from here to start this one-on-one fight. I can actually head towards the more passive person to start the one-on-one fight. That's perfectly acceptable too.
Yeah, it's almost like throwing a feint. Like if I want somebody to move their sword so I can hit him in the shoulder, I feint here and then come there. It's the same concept. The only difference is, all right, well I know Opie is the most aggressive person here. I'm going to throw a shot here with the idea of I'm going to have Opie pull in. And my whole plan from the get-go wasn't to throw the shot that I feinted him with, to hit him here. My whole thing was to throw the shot here to get him in so I can engage Opie.
So it's feigning the attention awareness pull. You still have to use the good sword mechanics to win it. But even if I'm thinking with that mentality, I have a chance to finish that fight full sequence. Whereas if I'm not, I'm probably just going to
Honestly, to me, like one versus many is the culmination of all the concepts you're going to learn at SKBC. Like this is the most demonstrative example of putting them into good practice. Is being able to beat multiple people. It's learning to feint to get people in, to draw people in, having the footwork to avoid your opponents, having the range control to keep people that you don't want to fight. Currently, if I'm fighting the three of them, you know, my range control is like, I've got him out of range, so you know, this is good for me. This is what I want. Like it's just a culmination of everything. It's like one-on-one fighting on steroids. You know? So all the things you were learning in classes, all the stuff that you go over and stuff like that, this is the application kind of at the center.
Okay, so I want to do another touch on that visual assessment, lazy low gaze thing. I'm going to demonstrate a little bit of something there. We're going to do a group exercise, then we're going to get a lot more splat, less chat with the drill exercise, okay? So again, this lazy low gaze thing is valuable because I can see whose feet are going to move after me fastest. And this low gaze, you can still keep awareness of someone's shoulder line. So if someone extends against you, it's not safe to be the lead fighter as much. I want to be doing this baiting the movement setup, so I'm breaking it down to a 2-period one for a moment rather than a 3 and all that. But as soon as I get someone committed to, let's say, swinging at my board side shoulder, these kind of, right, I'm not looking at one particular person. It might actually be disconcerting for you guys. It might be more tempting to swing, or I focus, let's say, on Opie's hip line, thinking I'm keeping so-and-so aggro off me. I'm inviting so-and-so static to come forward, but I did a 2-on-1, and now someone who was a little more timid is stuck with the rest of it. Does it? Okay.
Yeah. Can you, like, if I'm your target, can you use your sword as a line to where you're looking? Like using me as a target of where you're putting your eyes.
Right. So let's say my eyes, if you three are my opponent.
Just me. Just
you. Okay. So I'm looking down and like through the solar plexus to ground, down triangle. Okay. For my eyes.
So just stab me like where you're looking. Like so you're essentially like this.
Yeah, I didn't even notice.
Okay, so that's I do that too. Like if I'm looking at Bhakdar and I'm fighting Bhakdar, I'm looking about the solar plexus too. So it's kind of neat that both of us have developed this separately and never had this conversation before. We're looking at the same area because if I'm doing this to what Bhakdar say, now I can see Bhakdar's feet. Bhakdar's a very tall person, so there's a lot of information to gather here. If I'm looking at Matrix. Magnus, my brother. I'm still looking at about the same place. Instead of kind of here, I'm a little bit higher, but it gives me that same information.
And mainly, this is applying all those integrated skills at once. It's just giving more advantage in the sense of I'm not focused on this person's shoulder line and trying to throw relevant shots over. I'm being able to see everybody's shoulder line to hip line within my sphere of attack without directly looking at them. Does that make sense with what my sword just did? So within a step in and out or two, it's where any potential can go. Okay, enough on that. Keep your swords up in your hand. Let's make a ring. Let's make a circle. And my next pop quiz question, we're in a circle, you might want to step this one out for your ankle. We're going to get real mobile. What's the one direction anyone can evade infinitely?
Back. Or, sorry, when you say evade.
To the side.
Okay, without dying, obviously. Let me add a qualifier.
Yeah.
I heard back. You can go straight back. Can people run faster forward than you can run back?
Yes.
Almost always, yes.
Probably to the side.
To the side. What do we call that fancy word for sideways movement? Laterally. We're all going to practice. First, give me a demo buddy who's hyper-aggressive. Opie, come here, be my opponent. So if Opie is all aggro about my outside shoulder and he keeps rushing it, in this microcosm, this is what I mean by infinite disengage. Does that make sense? Okay? I know he's a shoulder hunter. I'm gonna wait until he overcommits to it. Yeah, and do something different. again, the swords and techniques of that fight are irrelevant. It's the foot technique I want you to focus on. Let's all do that as a group. We're going to do ring around the rosy. Lateral gallop, right in a circle. Loving it. Slow down. 3 seconds in. Lateral gallop, gallop to the left. Circle. Left. Some of us are not as more dominant with the left, are we? Did we all notice that? Awesome. Okay, but that's the principle of disengage everything. Did anyone feel their heart rate come up?
I did.
The more you practice that, the more your body will be in favor of you doing it. But it's super relevant because if you're the 1 verse 3, this is the foot technique of how we did stay alive. Static, well, you can step in front of it, more aggressive, and then full lateral commit, and I've created the microcosm. I have sphere of attack, you don't. I have sphere of attack, you don't. I have sphere of attack, you don't. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's defensive and aggressive. Ideally, it's both in one. I evaded one person to the direction of making harder commitment angles to opposing team, outnumbering, and microcosming the density factor to where my burst finishes a lot of people shortly. Does that make sense? Lateral movement is the step that must happen before you get to do that safely. Does that make sense? Any follow-ups to that? Let's do that one more time. Body practice. Gallop left. Slow it down. Disengage. Diagonal out left. Wiggles. Go. And back. 2 forward. Casual steps in tighter. Right lateral. Go. Right lateral gallop. Pull it down. Disengaging right lateral out. There we go. Casual lateral forward steps in. You guys all did that. Wait, we were almost synchronized swimmers. That's a little tough as well. Any comments from, anything you noticed with your body?
I did my rehab on the right side definitely went push off on the right toe as opposed to with my left.
Okay, you might have a side you can favor during recovery.
I found I exerted much more energy going just short burst right left, but then going out diagonally for me was actually smoother.
There was kind of a cool down to this.
Yeah.
Did people follow that? That straight side hustle. If your opponent is not mirroring with it, you're gaining advantage often. If you need to cool down, I tried to do this, it didn't work. His defense is too good. But disengage diagonal steps and give more visual assessment time. And as long as I have captured attention of one before you're following, then what am I doing? I'm creating a temporary one-on-one. So that here's hard and fast, take advantage of it. Here's, catch my breath. Oh, okay, now I go again. Does that make sense? So again, tempo change control, It's all this lateral stuff. And people followed, what I thought is, people did this pretty well. You could do the diagonal gallop forward or disengaging. But it's almost always better to be at the diagonal right than straight. You just get railroaded. Make sense?
I found myself crossing my left, or when going left, I found myself crossing a lot more. Where going right, I'd never just gallop, but for left, I just cross.
Use your comfort. Just don't get stuck doing this stuff without people rushing you. Yeah.
Do you do dance? That would be a with your left when you do a back to that, so that's built into you in that way.
Remember those you want on many and someone's trying to press you when you're like this?
There.
Spin is fine.
Spin out. I'm already prepped for the twist.
But enjoy that one on many where your back is moving.
Yeah. B-boy.
Planets, all about the planets.
I'm not saying it can't.
Go from the backspin to the backspin.
To the reverse spin. I got caught in the spin cycle, guys. Sorry.
Okay, let me pause. Let me slow us down back to dialogue. Questions on what we've covered so far? Give me a few comments. What's a golden nugget? What's a perspective of information? Something I want to apply to my 1 versus many fighting that I'm already starting to digest. I'm going to try to chew on this. I'm going to try to actualize it on the field this way. Let me do a check-in with each person. What's a takeaway that starts to brew?
I really like the aggressing the passive opponent to draw on the aggressive opponent. and then capitalize.
So using the mobility of your enemies against them as a whole team. That's the bread and butter of that stuff.
Watching everything even before you like keep watching what's happening before you find yourself in that situation.
There, your microcosm of attention needs to be about 2 or 3 times bigger than your actual sphere of attack. As sphere of attack ability, I don't want to be swinging, messing with that very much. My attention looks here. My sphere of attack is truly there as needed if they're on the way. And the mental game of whether I'm tracking intentionally in the context of that or not is abundantly most important. And the better you get at it, you kind of widen your sphere. So I have that, and then I also have these 3 people over there. So if my Diego suddenly flanked you off from behind and you guys are starting to fall, I just take a disengage over here and start flanking them, going to, hey, look at me! Because where's Diego going to be in 3 seconds? Maybe actually 1.5. Yeah, right behind the 2 of you. So where do I want to be? And now this is more team tactics, but it's also outnumbered 30%. Okay, so we're going to get to less chat, more splat. And we're going to do that with this exercise I love of 2v1, kill your killer. 2v1, 1 becomes the 1. Here's how the exercise works. I want us to just start single, then we'll be able to just see and observe and get more feedback on the positioning, rather than I'm just going to be a great order versus whatever. Okay, so we're going to start microcosms. 1 person versus 2 people, single sword. Play with the movement aspects and awareness aspects as your primary. What your sword hands are doing, you can execute. And then if you kill the 1 person, you're going to take their place as the outnumbered, as the 1. Yeah, that's where we're going. So let's see, we can do. Yeah, that'll real quick. We'll start with singles. We'll do some feedback. We'll add up to full gear as we go. Cool. Any questions about that? And we do if we want to break it into parts. So let's pull you 3 off. Oh, this man, we'll do the 1 first. Remember, the microcosm of advancing your skills per incrementally. Think that if you're winning the movement game stuff, that's cool. Use the awareness and movement game as what we're practicing more than your hand game. If you move to a good position but still die, don't get too hard on yourself. Does that make sense? No. And sure, we can go ahead and do 2 pods, structure SWAT each, and then we'll rotate. That's great.
I'm the 1? You're the 1. Ah, cool.
So the death blow shot on the one should point. You killed me, and that assigns the next one.
You got the back a little bit. I'm the 1.
Thank you very much. Actually, would you mind? Could you do me a favor? There's someone in a purple hat under the white tent. Can you give it to them, please? They're kind of a coordinator for that. Thank you so much. Yep.
So you can be the 1. It's not about
Good lateral movement. Yeah. Good fully committed lateral.
Yeah. So it was super good start. You got the righty and lefty. You rest. You took the outside arm. Yeah, we actually did.
Now I feel bad about
My biggest problem is patience. For sure.
No,
I want to go.
What have we worked on? We talked smart.
Yeah. Right.
I catch visually attention.
Yeah.
Get the step into your bag, see how you follow, try to get you and pause 3 times to assess if that's safe. That's one of the more to disengage and hope. I'll just keep having that check there. Good lateral though. If there's anything to take away from this, that's like
Dude, it's amazing. You're not pushing your
using
They're pushing you too. Or we just rotating?
Yeah, we're just
the one that kills the one becomes the one.
Yeah, I think we just kind of fell into it.
Yeah, giving everyone opportunities good too. Good.
Take these 3 quickly. Nick.
Keeping the fight on your range turns, right? And then the difficult. What was going on in your mind? What did you want to try to promote?
I was trying to get myself so I was out of clear, and I felt like when I threw, I didn't shoot a good shot, but I felt like I was out of clear enough to shoot my arm was blocked.
Yes.
And recovery, and only overreact to it.
Yes, I felt like that. I was trying to single a target, was done wisely, and that's really often the breakdown moment, right? How can I intentionally get either to wear 2 swords, I'm going to go after one hand block, and just kind of the simplest boil down. Maybe even if I'm trying to attack the primary intention of one, I might look committed to another for the moment, again to do the, what are they both going to swing at? I've got to set a target.
Oh yeah.
So how do I get that moment of when I love it? If you keep it out of range, great.
Yeah.
But then I need to have the confidence where I'm not going to die with a sword on.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's the mentality we're harnessing all the way along. Still 1,000 ways to happen in the breakdown.
Yeah, I went outside because I didn't like to block, but it was you had the hand block.
when I was, when you're on the mix side, she was very much trying to get in the range.
Yeah. Yeah.
And good many versus one. Right? So there I can now adapt to my opponent. Or like if I'm a tall person with a longer sword and I see I have a shorter friend, ally, do I stand here? Do I stand here? I might stand here with enough intention.
Yeah.
Fight me. Slap your sword, get within mid-range for half a second, get you to really want to fire back. So that she gets the easy sword to hit. Yeah. How do I create that first initial safe fully committed?
What was your name again?
Giving. Alright, yeah, let's keep it black. And then how about, are you guys ready for a pit mix-up?
Sure.
Let's change up fighters a little bit. Here, you're drifting this way. Sure. Okay, yeah. Let's bring it back together, digest the material, and then up to the challenge. We're gonna do some instructors in pit. Diego, you ready to be on the spot?
I'm on punch. I'll let you know.
Up to your comfort level. Yeah, take a sip, get fresh. No. Desert, 20-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh yeah.
Let's not even talk about what anyone did last night.
Desert. Yeah. But it's the wind, I think.
I think I was sunburned as much by the wind. All right, this sponge had a great pitch. Like, why not fight some instructors? So we'll mix in.
Say, why don't we do three of y'all versus Diego, you're gonna be fighting three people watch. And then like we'll talk about what Diego did after the fight. And then we'll switch the three people to Bighead. Same three people get the Bighead, and then same thing. The three. Yeah, so Tom, you wanna go right now?
Do it. And the opener thing.
So we're good. It seems like it's easier to break out. Yeah. You want to go to Alright,
good. Widen out. If you're watching, get way back. Let's take your gear back. Thank you.
Yeah. And why don't you have your back to the camera?
Somebody take down like you did.
You guys line up like the people who are attacking Carlos kind of line up in your front. But just in a row. Tom, okay, just like that. You guys space out a little bit above Alright, so 3, 2, 1, lay on. See like all the things we talked about. all at once. So let's stop real quick. What do you guys So yeah, go ahead. What?
Yeah,
Hey.
Diego was fighting a pod instead of everyone spreading out and everyone like jump and not doing a whole lot of like blocking for each other that I saw. Or I wasn't looking for that, but I just saw that they were
Better fighters.
spread out.
So it looked like Diego kind of like herded them into
instead of
going both directions first. And then once you came in, you wanted to fight. You used that. You were on the flank enough to use that chance then to run through the following two people. It's kind of that opportunity that he was talking about, right? Where like you're going down the line, so the person behind can't engage. So it was kind of like you got to do everything. You herded them, you drew one out, you won your fight, and then you took advantage of that line to kill everybody.
Yeah, I was gonna say that something I definitely saw was Carlos pushed real hard. Started backing up. Carlos back and kind of he's backed up, so I go the other way. You had to come back through there. You could rotate and back push to the right, push back, rotate, and then back to the left real hard. Which is kind of, again, makes the president follow on. Yeah, that goes back to like full forest that we talked earlier. Somebody says you step back, you go backwards. You already got 3. Okay. Say something real quick. Like, we got
Yeah.
You guys are talking to each other and whatnot. And I know. No, you're still like. You guys are getting the same thing with Bighead. You guys will get Carlos and then.
No, I'm good. Okay. If I collapse and get back up.
Alright, you guys ready? Alright, 3, 2, 1, lay on.
So I was trying to get where I wanted
Bighead going diagonal back on the button instead of rotating. They kept like a social distance between each other the whole time.
Yeah. Whereas when Carlos is fighting, Carlos is going around. Yeah. Carlos is like a shark. They're going to thread. Whereas Bighead is like, whoa. It's good to see you. Alright, come back. Come back up the floor.
I tend to want to draw one person out at a time if I can. That time I lost my right arm right away, and it was like, well, okay, this is going to be a really bad example of what happens.
Bad example. No, that's exactly. On that arm take, you did a great job. You know, basically, that line.
Yeah, any commentary, what did the many two do better?
They feel like they kept their distance from each other a little bit better. Like they all kind of stayed together. They did.
Yeah. What about the spear attack?
They were all wider.
Yeah, but it doesn't bring that spear out.
Yeah, you guys were in equidistant spear attack with Bighead almost the whole time. Bighead is like, which diagonal do I? How do I bring this to a dragging a one-on-one, right? Whenever that stepping started to happen, there was less lag and more full press. Where within another second, either any one of you was over. Did you guys? Is that fair?
There is something about dance, right? That's consider yourself like more aggressive. I started doing hand math just so I could pinch and more from the right? I was just doing the same thing. It kept enough attention for us to like. So I just used that communication by a more effective compound. I'm going to be trying to if that makes sense.
No hand on the other for feedback.
You sure?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I think it's super effective.
I think it's super limiting for the person who's hand through the back.
You guys come over here. Yeah. So we have a better. All right. Y'all ready? Yeah. 3, 2, 1, lay on.
Ooh, good job, Vinci. Good job, Diego.
Before you
That was so hard. Before he was working the outside.
push it to 2-on-1s instead of 3-on-1s. There was a couple windows where I was out of range, or I kept getting behind somebody, or you would drop to a full and one just the ship.
Yeah, as the position switch happened, right, when you started looking, it was 2-on-1. It was great. Just in the perfect position to keep it in that center. Keep that center part where you can't get all of that.
That kind of goes back to the 2-on-1, goes back to the first. So it's like chasing you just kind of you just make yourself in a position that you're rotating in. So now a lot of people will just kind of chase behind, and the tail of the dog starts to bite someone. It's not real effective, but you get on there and great job of winning that fight.
The mini team tactics are getting better, even as you train being outnumbered, right? Your counterbalance either way advances.
I know you've been doing a lot of like belly and stuff like that. Yeah, I saw that. So if best fighter like there's a person who's like that is the hardest fight ever. Like that person all the time. If that person is the one person that's against you, but this is at the end of that tournament style or whatever. Just going in and trying to hammer that person is ineffective. You guys communicating with each other and having the experience of like, okay, well let's as a team, as we're trying to get better, like let's work the 3 of us versus Bighead, let's work, 3 of us versus Eggman, everybody versus Izzy gets better at reading.
Both. People want some. How about one more of these and then come back to smaller pits, 2v1 with full gear, so we're going to get the full field experience of it. We'll get some splat time before we get to
All right, you guys ready? All right, 3, 2, 1, lay on.
Maybe not. Alright.
The one-on-one fight doesn't matter.
So Matrix took himself far too out of that, and he was able to get his pick initially, which is exactly what he wanted to progress it. So, if you, just for me, because I'm dumb, rotate just back out here. Right? When you were Bruce makes a step, he was over here, right? And then he finally was able to, he had this nice back step against the hit, and then he continued to push for whatever reason, and then got killed, and he just started to hang up a little bit just to get to that one next shot.
So would you say if we were to take it to 3 then?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So, one of the big things from my perspective on this, Matrix even talking about basically being 2 parts of a single flow fighter.
Yeah.
But your right hand wasn't with you during that fight. So, you were extended far forward, your right hand was lagging behind. And Vulcan was trying to figure out where to plug himself in.
So, I was going to say, every time I felt like I stepped into your range, you just took a step back.
I didn't want to fight you.
Yeah. And then I would take a step into range and you would take a step back.
So we talked about before, like if I can take an arm, the next thing that I'm going to want to try to do is kill the wounded person, right? Like I want to turn this into 2-on-1 as quickly as I can. So I kind of got you guys in a line, and I can step away from your now sword shoulder here in a very, very safe shot. Now you 2 are lined up. I can engage you. I lost an arm. Luckily, Stab was late, and I can engage one-on-one. Just what was going on. So, yeah, that one it was a little bit more trying to be heroes. Why we died? A little bit less. Which is great.
I was hoping to get full gear all the
Matrix now has another input field that he's got a very aggressive, very high pressure.
And also very safe. Can't reach out. So, what are some things that you can do as the one when there's a pole on the menu?
Have a board.
Like some of it is the same kinds of things, right? But you definitely want to rotate away from the pole. Like it's the last thing you want to be on. Like I always find that poles plus one other person equals.
Yeah. So if I'm the one, it's not right now. I'm rotating out and trying to get people in the way. Much white noise.
That situation that Diego was putting us in, where like I'm definitely bodied out by my teammate. It's even worse than a pole because it's so frustrating. You can't just pick your sword. Like your sword moves, but a pole I've got to like move through space to get right out.
A good pole right there, so that if I'm getting pressed and I'm backpedaling, Opie has all that space to be moving with me.
I don't want to be yeah. You're 100%. Yeah, I want you there. So I can up here. Because I don't feel like you have to I don't care. So since me, like I don't want that force. You're on here. Not here the right way. Right? So now you have no clue.
You know, if Bhakdar's standing to my left and you're standing to my right, I don't want that space. I'm probably going to be back here, and you guys maybe each took 6 inches before you did. Like this is kind of my comfort zone. Because now I have a lot of comfort here. I still have all the targets. So that's kind of how I would. I noticed that when I moved out here to Nevada, we had a lot of shorter spear women. Yeah. That going over people is not an option. Down strikes is not happening at this part. Yeah. So what I was telling them is like find yourself on like if you're fighting a Gordman right-handed, find them on their hip side. Always find yourself to you're boarding here. You're kind of scooping under. Like I said, I'm going with shorter people. Good. But now I'm a little gone. Yeah, and if Tom were doing that today again, I would. but that's my comfort zone. Carlos' comfort zone, and Carlos and the Matrix would have a pretty good rapport with his life stuff right next to them. They're basically
every shark has a remora underneath them.
I want to keep building some response on that. Okay, microcosm 1 versus many. Let's say Opie and Matrix. If you're my 2-on-1. Regardless of my sword skill strength, I'm at big disadvantage because of their spear of attack potential, right? And so I think I was hearing a question like, if I'm the one, how do I do this best I can? Let's build some ideas on that. What do you guys think? For one, we already did this demo earlier. I should be thinking about it back here, not within Opie's sphere of attack. What should I be thinking? What's helpful things you consider?
So for me, it's a similar concept to what it is without a polearm, which is I want to start to aggress the more passive fighter, which in this case is going to be the polearm. And the polearm is basically the point at which everything rotates around, right? So if I start to aggress that and draw out the boardman, right, because the entire point is the board is going to step in to counter chop. If I can advance from here, and I don't have a single sword, but it happens a fair amount. If I can go here and get to this point, and then Matrix comes in and throws that low chop that everybody wants to do because I'm engaged with the pole, right? Fade back, out of range, boom. Now I've got an armed person. Ideally, I want to duck back over here and try to go this way, if I get sniped the leg on one-on-one with the pole, still not the greatest situation. Single sword going way better than I was 2 seconds ago.
Yeah, so this is challenging no matter how you cut it, but you can kind of limb the tree of how much damage they can output against you. And then I would say that counter entangling theory is really relevant too. With Sponge, and do I want to get close to that pole? No. But is it impossible to ever land a strike that diminishes my opponent's threat without engaging their sphere of attack? That's the game I gotta do. It's just how I can do it at my best, right? So what I would advocate for, regardless of how well trained these guys are together, hopefully maybe I can get some tells at range on how well they fight together. And I could do that with some lateral step stuff. Do they mirror me? Okay, they were laterally mirroring me. Does that make sense? Right?
Yeah.
They followed my hard couple of lateral steps left. Okay? Let's try some lateral right. How aggressive is the pole? Now we're in a demo, but the pole hasn't started firing. Okay, now stop. Yep. Now, they naturally have, go back so we can hear each other. Thank you. The outnumbering team started to do what they do, throw their weight around, right? Even without throwing attacks. The more proficient killers they are, the more they know they might be able to press that sphere of attack on me before they even have to commit. Ideally, I want to look for tells that they might make mistakes. Like right at the edge of sphere of attack, I start pumping fakes that I want Opie to throw some big over chopper or overextended stab, let's say. Okay, that's maybe a little much.
Well, that's a meat chop. I chop
Exaggeration for effect.
I guess I would describe this as going from the mental awareness game to the swing stick game transition, right? I need to engage controlling that transition. That's what I'm trying to do at this range game. So regardless of who my eventual prime target is to rush, I got a close distance if I'm ever gonna get a hit. But I want sloppy stuff to come from this pole. Can you please stab past my shield board edge? Right, like maybe I hold my guard sloppy up here. So when he goes, I gotta stuff a border with a shield. I'm sorry, I'm from Bell. No, I wanted to get where the 3 steps back for demo's sake. Right? Does that make sense in mentality? Is it hard to pull off? Yes. But maybe my guard is or I have a forearm sticking out, or I give some juicy here, because I want him to step to this hip. I want to make it a parry at the last moment that doesn't diminish closing my sphere of attack. Is he going to come back to whack my hip? Yes. But I have a micro moment where I need to ride this up, disadvantage the thing that's always going to keep killing me before I can reach it, and then make it a one-on-one again. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it's all about creating those microcosms. Is it difficult? Yes. Counterbalance, if they're playing range well, he's not going to throw slop from this distance. What I'm going to do is, okay, what do you start to do as I aggress lateral right? You guys catch where he repositioned?
Basically, almost behind the shield.
He started to hunker more behind his boardman. Yeah? People notice that? He went about a quarter, half step back. And if I start springing like, I'm gonna, a fake rush, a fake lunge or sprint. Maybe now I get the pull cowering before. He's not in my sphere of attack, even if I did the best one of these. No, and that's not advantageous. But did I get a move for it? Yeah. So now what can I do to capitalize?
Real quick rotate to the left.
There we go. Similar to how Diego opened corralling the herd. Hey, I'm gonna meet you like I'm so badass, I'm gonna win this. I'm gonna choose an angle to fade or an angle to pressure to tighten you up. I'm gonna recommit lateral left. Now you're chopping over and through a board as I'm taking your leg.
Show him!
Simo. I died. Oh, yeah. That's okay.
Take his sword.
Let's break
Tomorrow is relevant. Do you guys have any quick questions about defense and application? I don't have to make this big step. All right.
So let's start with melee range and then add complexity from there. Let's go back to the 2v1. Winner becomes the 1. Has full melee gear, meaning sword corridor, 2 sword. So we're more range with this. Start there, rotation, and then you guys get range and more range. You like the ball, right? Sure. I haven't had a spot yet. He wants to do on one. Hope he does. I can't. Buddy. Here we go. Left post. Good lateral and keeping equidistant sphere of attack. I had to move a lot before I could commit to anything.
One, two, three. After one dies, it's two. Sorry. It's three. It goes back.
Good observation. Thank you. Make sure it rotates. I can be on it, right? Play smarter.
Nope.
Oh, but I gave. Good. You pounced on. Opportunity. No, I did not. I didn't. Did you hit that arm?
Exactly.
I did not.
So wait on the second one.
This side. Cool. Let's take one. Stand more parallel. You guys kept it, so anytime I swing, I'm going to right after that.
Yeah. Nice.
That's afraid. Don't die. Never mind. We'll just stay tight.
How do you maintain it?
What you do well?
I wish. I wanted to be here yesterday.
There were several micro moments where you took a lateral step or two very committed, where you made it one-on-one, you had to chase, one-on-one, you had to chase. Yes, you were doing that well.
It's like you can watch that.
Oh, sorry about the head. Right post. Oh, you were on the way to my groin. Last one and bring it in. Last fight, bring it in. There was the OP on the custom too.
Yeah, I'm relearning Florentine because that you went to class yesterday was like me with your left. I was with the right. That's right. Yeah.
Rip it up and debrief. Come home and debrief. flying and helping. Big deep breath. Let's go inward again. A few deep breaths. What are my takeaways? What's the way I can describe it in time? Top 1 or 2 golden nuggets. Content on the fly without numbers.
They're full kit, lick the shit out of them.
Pardon?
If they're in full kit, lick the shit out of them.
It's not nice, but it's
If you are in that moment where you have some momentum, you've wrapped around that one quadrant of people, you've got 3 people in you wrap, you go through 1, 2, 3, you need to still consider that if there's another 3 people, right, another density, right, they might have their attention, don't immediately gun for them. Take a second to look at the information before you and survey, because you can find yourself running a ditch line and being so charged about it, and you want to go and hit, but you will lose if you don't realize there's people being more aware of their surroundings.
Yeah,
So take a little bit of time, not too much time, but take some time.
there's a loop going on here.
Yeah.
Assess from it. Step 1, assess and say from. Step 2, plan. Where's my most vulnerable thing to actually get to, or that diminishes the strike power of opponents. Step 3, commit to that. If we can live through that commitment, disengage from lateral or back side step, start assessing and plan next step again. We have the early opener. I want to learn the safest shots. Safest shots is what you can throw safe. It's going to matter so much by nuance contact. You got to let people slow them down. That's the safely. Great. When I was 2v1 versus a flow fighter and a border. Is it risky? Yes, but I feel that some sort of just feint and a kill shot stab. Let them commit and go under it. Equidistant sphere of attack, but I get a counter kill. At worst, I'm going to lose an arm. It's microcosms of what's safe in the moment. So do safe shots and set up a plan.
I'm going to expand on it because to me there is no such thing as there is no shot that's going to be safe. But so if you're saying I want to look for safe shots, to me you're going about it the wrong way. You need to figure out when it's safe to throw the shots. You need to be able to take the input, process it, and figure out what opportunities are you doing throwing shots.
For example, people talk about like the money shot. The money shot typically ends up going to the right of the person. So if I'm rotating right, that might be my safest shot for that particular context, right? So if I can go up to this person and, boom, okay, and now I've set up the line of people and landed a shot that me fading right is advantageous for, that's probably my highest performing shot there. So something that as I'm moving laterally to the right, it's an advantage to throw. If I'm having to rotate left, I might try to like jam up a defense and throw boom boom and go this way. It's what do you do one-on-one in that context, and when can you line up a one-on-one to throw that shot? If you have multiple people, nothing's safe.
All right. So to me, if I'm putting the two of them and they're both. I've got my thing up high, and they're both paying attention up here, and they're not looking at the center chest like Bhakdar and I were doing earlier. So I know they're probably not paying attention to my feet. That's a safe shot. That's a great opportunity to throw this and move. So this is, if I do the same shot right here, Carlos is gonna hit me in the shoulder. So that's not a safe shot. It's just the opportunity to do it like that.
And that was all given opportunity because the assessment was more forefront in mind than just hit them where they're open.
Yeah, if he's flat-footed, he's got his feet down. He's not kind of crouching or anything like that. He's just kind of standing there, waiting his turn to fight me or whatever. And he's looking like a statue, and he's looking way up. That leg is probably going to be pretty safe, just because the opportunity's around it.
So let's keep building takeaways so everyone in our group has a chance to say their morsels so they can work on it.
Changing of direction seemed really imperative to creating those one-on-ones. So, like moving in one direction to kind of get people to commit in that direction, and suddenly going back the other way, you made that change and take your one-on-one back out, reassess if you need to. Maybe you die because it's one-on-many, but that's a good way to create an opportunity for yourself.
Right. And it's all, again, this is assess, plan, and why I did that. If you're developing steps of that, it matters less whether you win the fight. You're going to keep having better chance to win the fight. It's about, did I create a committed motion engagement? Did I commit their attention after me the way I meant to? That's really the skill we're honing more than the sword swinging at the moment.
I've got kind of a takeaway for it for people trying to grow in this. I think that it's hard to measure growth because you're going to lose every fight for a long time, generally speaking. So like when you take a limb without getting hit, like that's growth. When you get a kill without getting hit, that's growth. When you turn it from a 7-on-1 to 3 on nobody by the end of it, like that's growth. And when you finally get like that giant kill streak and you wipe through a team of people, like obviously you've done a lot of things very, very right. That's growth, but like even then that's not going to work every time. Like I have won those sorts of fights and I've lost to the first person in that fight, and there's just not a whole lot of picking and choosing how it goes every time.
Can I add 2 things in the context of ditch, something like that, right? One is be patient. There will be an opening that could happen, right? If the line could somehow get into your favor where you've rotated a certain section, right? And their back is against the rest of your team who is coming, you can hold that time. Be patient, be patient, be patient. It's okay, you don't have to go to the kill. And then the other thing is just that I find that if you are going to be trying to rotate out, talk with your people next to you, just say something, right? Because you're going to eventually find yourself, if you're the guy who wants to be on that far right to rotate to get that advantage, be like, hey, I'm going to try and rotate and press on this side so much. That will let this person maybe know, hey, I'm going to try and keep just like this defense. I'm just going to step right here, just a little bit more, so they can get that, right? But if they get peeled away by 3 other people, right? Well, now you can either rotate this way, or maybe you can grab some other people to go that way, right? But it's important to communicate. Please communicate.
Patience and communicate your context. And then I definitely wanted to see your takeaways still here.
Keep moving.
Always keep moving, sure.
Lateral. But I think I was just going to say, I think it also applies to like those little micro, you're in like a long ditch field and you see the line stringing out and you find a little mini flank in the middle of the line. You can easily find yourself, once you understand that bubble, that sphere of attack, you can understand how you're breaking off your sphere from your larger line and causing theirs to curl back on itself.
Yes, and flanking, even if you don't get that streak of backs, you can get committed attention. Now behind you, and 5 people turn, and then the front line in front of them just killed them. And now you get
teammates back to back while they're still facing against me. I don't even have to do damage at that point. My teammates just have to know they've got back.
Yep. If you're not feeling sprinty that day, but I got behind this flank somehow, that's a lot of work. I'm behind you. I'm gonna let those 3 people kill you guys. Yeah. That's fine. Use your voice, not your body. That's fine.
Just using lateral movement to position your opponent's disadvantage was to them to like have them look lined up or like a one spot range, but you can do the other one.
Yes, lateral movement is the physical technique that creates the team entanglement. That's your density kill pocket, or your opportunity to attack back pocket.
So there's one thing I always want to say in a one-on mini class that nobody's done, so thank you for not doing it. But if you're ever in a situation where like, if I'm the one and I'm fighting the 3 of them, and I decide it's a good idea to go to the middle of them, I am so stupid. Like I have put myself in a position where like that's never a good idea. That is never ideal. Because if I do this, again that spear of attack, like they have a very focused area. If I come here, man, I've given them a much wider spear. So like nobody's done that. Be mindful if you see your buddy who does that, tell him, hey man, that's a bad idea, don't do that.
Yeah, well, he's not going down the middle.
But usually that happens at least once or twice, and it's a good point to pick out, but it hasn't happened, so I just want to, if you ever are in that situation, you fucked up somehow. Reflect on how you fucked up to get in a situation where you thought that was a good idea.
Record scratch. All right. Everyone feel like they learned something and they can go apply it and know how they're going to go apply it. Oh yeah. Take that morsel, keep it in your mind as you go to the next practice ditch, write it in your notes if you need to. Go explain one principle, act it out, one principle to a group mate, and you'll digest it better. Use the material while it's fresh.
Like anything, like if you guys have questions, be it 10 minutes from now, be it 10 hours from now, be it 10 days from now, like feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to work with you and explain things if you need a further further explanation, or if it's something like, hey, like I've been thinking about this for a while, and what do you think about this? Like just reach out, ask any of us. We might not get back to you immediately, but we'll get back to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.